Hey, peace world. We'll jump right into it, man. Some bite down boxing. My name is Wood. Please support the channel. If you bet on games, betus.com.pa and use and sign up with promo code JOIN125. Join JOIN 125. That'll help the channel out. A couple of interesting things came up on last week's boxing podcast with Chris Mannix. Yeah, Jamel Herring on there, who will be returning to the ring to campaign at lightweight, moving up from 130. But Jamel was on there, the Dan Cannabio cat, and then Lou DiBella closed out the show, talking on a number of Devin Haney and George Kambosos Jr., talking about a number of details with that fight. The interesting thing from Jamel, shout out to the former junior lightweight champion who was stopped actually by Shakur Stevenson earlier this year. But Jamel will no longer be training with Brian Bomac McIntyre. And, you know, I talk about stuff like this, or these types of stories interest me because a lot of these boxers, man, a lot of boxers just catch bad deals. But it's all kind of relatively speaking. Bomac and his time in the camp with Bomac and Bud Crawford, Terrence Crawford, actually, you know, restarted his career. You know, he left from he left or parted ways with PBC and went and got with those guys, dropped down 1 or 2 weight classes, and went on to become a world champion. You know, and was a fixture in the camp the last few years. Had a title fence or two. And almost got the big payday with the unification fight with Oscar Valdez, but the WBO mandatory situation ended up derailing those plans for the guy, and he had to go and fight the young Thundercat and Shakur Stevenson, and wasn't able to retain his title and get that unification bout, that lucrative unification bout. He did get the somewhat of a career-defining win over Carl Hampton overseas. I think that was in the over in the Middle East somewhere, maybe, or did that one go down in the UK? But he was very honest on it and said that Bomac came to him and was like, "We're done here. You know, it's time for you to go to someone else." My only question is, like, what does Bomac have going on, or who does he really have on the roster to where, like, now working with Jamel Herring is no longer, like, you don't have time for that? And I bring this up because I've asked, a lot of these trainers really just don't have, in my opinion, very few of them have a third guy that's benefiting from their tutelage and their training. You know, they're not really having a great impact on them. It didn't look like Bomac had much that he could help Herring with in the fight against Shakur. I think he lost every minute of that fight. It really didn't seem like Bomac helped Herring out in many of the situations when he was facing adversity, to be honest with you. But Herring did come out and say that it was no hard feelings. He was like, it's the business. He enjoyed his time there. He praised those guys for the impact on his career and the success of the relationship. And then he announced that he'll be moving forward with Manny Robles, who I think is a good fit. I like Manny Robles. Manny Robles is based in Los Angeles. I think Robles has had some guys get some pretty good wins and is a very solid trainer. So, a change of scenery might be good for Jamel Herring. Robles his training and direction might get something new out of Herring. Whatever other guys are in the gym under, working under Robles, they might have some impact on him. So all in all, I think it's a pretty good move. Jamel Herring will move forward with Manny Robles as his trainer. I don't think he said he had I don't think he said he could name an opponent at this time. But it was interesting to me that he said that he was contacted about being like a plan B for George Kambosos or something, or maybe if the Loma fight didn't work out, he said he might have been a plan C or something. We obviously know that it went to Devin Haney as the plan B, but he said was kind of in the loop to face Kambosos had they needed to go that route. He also said they took a look at Comey, Richard Comey, which would have been an interesting fight for him because we don't look at Herring as much of a power puncher, and to go up and face Comey at lightweight, that would have been a tough fight for him in my opinion. But Comey, he is what he is. But that would have been I just think that would have been a tough fight for Herring going up to lightweight to face a bigger puncher. I say a bigger puncher. So anyway, that's pretty much it with Herring. I just thought that was kind of cold-blooded that you had some success with the guy, and then when things don't look right, you kick him out the gym. You tell him to move on to someone else. And like I said, I just don't see a lot of up and coming fighters up underneath Bomac that the relationship needed to be severed at that point. But it is what it is. Getting to the Devin Haney situation and what Lou DiBella shared, one person that commented on here that a bunch of stuff that I said was like skepticism, or I was making a lot of assumptions that were skeptical at best. And that's his opinion. Whatever. I probably stated as much. I don't see any of the emails. I'm not privy to any of the phone calls and whatnot. I just said I felt like everybody in the situation probably tried to do the best that they could with what they had to work with. But what I could gather from it was that the zone was only willing to go so far to make the fight, and that's why Haney didn't have a good chance in getting that bout before it was offered to Loma. One thing that I think DiBella kind of spoke to was that it may not really have been a matter that the zone tried to be cheap or be chintzy with making that fight happen. The major issue was probably that the government of Australia, or the Victorian government, whatever they call it down there, they brought so much to the table that the zone really just couldn't compete with the money that the government was bringing to the situation. He did say that, DiBella did say that Eddie Hearn, most businessmen, you don't do things with your own money. You go out and get all the money to do what you want to do, and then you go do your promotion. But very rarely is any businessman just gonna sit there and pay for everything. It doesn't work like that. We see Mayweather Jr. and how he's gone about the fights that he's put together for Gervonta Davis. He's not gonna go digging in his millions to make a fight that we would all be happy about. You just don't do it. But DiBella also said that Adams deal, what he proposed, he said that he got with DAZN and had some talks with them, and they tried to make it happen. But again, the money that the Victorian government, this is a conversation between friends. And it's Lou DiBella telling his story. The only thing is, with everything that DiBella put out into the air, if he was lying about anything or exaggerating or embellishing anything, obviously other people can come back and weigh in, and we get another side to the story. But everything that he said seemed to be pretty much on the up and up. A couple things that came out there was that Devin Haney and his father have started the vaccination process. Australia has some of the strictest COVID rules or regulations or whatever in the world. And I said this earlier, or at least on my It's Always Personal podcast, when I was talking about everyday people trying to take their cues from celebrities about whether or not you were going to get vaccinated or what you were going to do in your personal situation. And I was blown away that a lot of people would sit back and cite celebrities, what a celebrity said, when a lot of these guys, the views towards being vaccinated was tied to their ability to earn money. It had nothing about a conspiracy or I'm taking this stance or the studies or this and that. It was simply, if I'm rich and I can continue to be rich, I can continue to earn money, I ain't getting no shot. It was really that simple. And here we are, as soon as this brother had to go out and get a shot in order to get a bag, he rolled up his shot. Like a lot of people have had to go and do, based on what your situation is. You may have had to go do some stuff that you didn't really necessarily want to do. You know, Deontay Wilder had to get vaccinated for the trilogy bout against Tyson Fury. You know, it ain't nothing about I'm being defiant and blah blah blah, free will and whatever. Can you continue to eat or not? And so anyway, the other thing is that he might have to be in Australia, and I think this is a smart thing. It may cost him some money. It might eat into whatever his purse is, but you know, Devin Haney could spend a lot of time in Australia, based on the COVID protocol and everything, time difference, and whatever. But he is tied up for 2 fights. DeBella said, you know, if the guy couldn't, you know, the rematch is in place, if Haney should win. But he said if Haney couldn't make 140 again, 135, then, you know, they got a contingency plan if they can't do the rematch, if the rematch is even needed. He also, you know, because it was weird how here we are, we're talking about Kambosos and Lomachenko, and then, you know, the fight becomes Haney, and how the hell does Haney have to get involved with signing with Top Rank, and, you know, what? And some of us wanted to go out here and say it looks unfair to the young man, but really, one way to look at it is Haney has maybe a year and a half of his career is all lined up for very meaningful fights, and all he has to do is win the first one. You know, if you win the first one and force the rematch, you know, if that's necessary, then you should be able to win the second one in theory, and then you get a pay-per-view bout against Lomachenko. And here at 24, 25 years old or whatever to be at the time, he'll have he'll have some signature, victories in the early part of his career, and you can go from there. You know, the Kambosos fight will be shown on ESPN as of right now. I think that's what they said. I don't know I don't know the plans for the time difference and all of that, but because I remember watching Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao was on at like 7 or 6 a.m. you know, Eastern time or something. But it looks like they're gonna try to put the fight on ESPN. That's also good business for Devin Haney. And like I said, and something that I said earlier with the relationship between DAZN or Matchroom and Haney, I couldn't go out here and get all that upset with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn that they didn't guarantee this fight for Devin Haney. They didn't go and do financially whatever it took to make this fight happen. You know, some money he had been overpaid in a lot of ways. You know, they went and paid X amount of money to this guy, hopeful that the relationship would grow, it would drive subscriptions, you know, he could sell tickets and whatever. If you want to say he wasn't promoted properly by them, you know, fair enough. But obviously they wanted, it seemed attractive to have a young American fighter, if you wanted to say black American fighter, or however you want to look at it. It was a play to get involved with a young up-and-coming championship fighter, you know, world-class fighter. And for whatever reason or another, you know, they did the Linares fight. They did the fight with Jojo Diaz Jr. And, you know, I guess at this point now they've parted ways. You know, they're not together anymore. Bella did mention a couple times that Haney, and I think I've even heard Eddie Hearn state this too, that Haney preferred to maintain the relationship and wanted to stay on the zone, or wanted to remain with the zone, or even, as they put it, be loyal to the zone. And of course you would, because you're exposed now to go down here and fight. You're already exposed and going to Australia and trying to win on this man's home turf, and you getting the shorter end of the money and whatnot. So obviously you would want to be underneath the banner of the people that you've been working with. You would think your interests would be, your long-term interests would be best protected in that situation, but that's not how it happened. So again, all the dude has to do is make weight, show up and be ready to put on a good performance. You know, he's probably got to win convincingly 8 or 9 rounds, you know, if it's going to go to a decision. And I'm not, you know, I don't take anything away from Kambosos as a fighter. I believe he was a chief sparring partner for Manny Pacquiao, for a while. He's put in the work. You know, I think he's traveled the world sparring and whatnot and doing what he had to do to work to the position that he got to. And then he gets to fight with, you know, with the unified lightweight champion, Teofimo Lopez Jr. Got the early knockdown, survived the late knockdown, did everything that he needed to do to get a decision, and prevailed, and now holds these 3 titles. DeBella made a couple of statements about the fact that he didn't want to go to a soft touch or a light touch. He wanted to go into a big time fight. So, you know, we should commend the guy for doing that. I do think he picks up a ton of confidence in that win. And historically, that's what a lot of fighters have said in boxing, is that once they became champion and once they defeated a champion, that, you know, they felt 20 or 30% more confident, whatever. I don't know how you quantify it, but they said they just had more confidence. And that has to be something, you know, when you beat, like I said, when you defeat a person that's known as a champion and who's had a significant win or multiple significant wins, and you beat that person straight up, that's got to do wonders for your confidence. However, looking back to the press conference last week, and some people in the comment sections that want to leap to all of these big assumptions just from that interaction. It was like a virtual press conference of sorts. Haney and Bill were not in the same location as George. I didn't look at much of it, but it's out there on YouTube. But to go and say that press conference, that interaction, Haney is in trouble. Maybe. I think it's a good fight for both guys. I think I don't know if I go with that it's 50-50. I think Haney might be the guy with more class. I don't think either one of them has a significant power advantage. Kambosos has been down. Haney's been hurt. I just think it's going to be a pretty good fight. And for the fact that it can be for undisputed, I think both dudes come out of this better. And I think with it being on ESPN, that's gonna work. It's a win-win situation for both guys, and hopefully, there's no debauchery or any BS when it comes to a fair decision, unless one of them stops the other. But people want to make comment or make a thing of Haney stuttering somewhat and not being a great speaker, or that Kambosos was able to get in some jabs. Is a decent fighter. If Haney doesn't, not maybe. I'm not gonna. My thing is, I don't spoil fights for myself. I'm not gonna jump ahead and run out here with all of the conspiracy talk. I do think the obvious thing is that the fight is being held in Australia, and Haney is on the road, far away from home. I'll give it that. But as far as all the other stuff, I'm not gonna ruin the fight for me. I just think he should be able to box his way to a victory. What I will say is, I go back to the Lee Selby fight. It's not like Kambosos has been doing it for years now, and he's been this hell of a fighter, and he's this that this swings things in his favor 70-30 or something. It's not like he's that type of guy for me. The Lee Selby fight, I fell asleep on it. It was very. I don't have any memory of anything great in that fight happening. I don't recall seeing any fantastic boxer. I fell asleep on it. I was like, damn, bro, I thought you should have got rid of, or you should have moved by Lee Selby convincingly, and that really wasn't what I saw. So going into the Teofimo Lopez fight, and you have your moment against him. Teofimo Lopez came in there with all types of personal problems. The fight was delayed a number of times. Both dudes were kind of inactive. I mentioned last week the Joey Gamache trainer was not present in that camp. He may have been more of the boxing brains on the team than Teofimo Lopez Sr. The dude had money problems, coming off of the most. I apologize. I'm not getting to your comments, but thank you for them. Racism. I had to come back and check that comment out because I'm getting ready to get out the ride. But yeah, Lopez came into that fight a mess. I think for a lot of these young fighters with personal lives that are all over the place, boxing is not the place, is not the sport to come in. You don't have a left tackle to help you out. You don't have a defensive line you don't have a shooting guard, and you don't have teammates to talk you up. Like, you got to go in there and be ready to perform from the first bell, or when they tap the gloves. You got to be ready to go. And I think I think we could look at Teofimo Lopez's performance that night and see that he was very dismissive of Kambosos Jr. Like I said, he was talking about future business and becoming a pay-per-view star, and he was all over the place. And I just think he came in right for the picking in terms of Kambosos defeating him. He didn't put together any kind of consistent offense that fight, except maybe in the latter portion of the fight. He put together a couple of good rounds and whatnot, or tried to take control of the fight. He did get the knockdown, I believe, in the last quarter of the fight. So what up, bro? Oh, it's about 25 minutes, man. I'm here now. This is actually my first day back in the office in on a regular schedule in 2 years. So they just got us April 1st. We all had to come back in, and it's a hybrid situation now where I got to do 2 days 1 week, 3 days the next. And I got to go get a haircut sometime this week and get back to normal. But yeah, man, let me get on off here. Like I said, I think I would suggest go checking that DeBella interview out. He said a number of different things. he shared what he wanted to share about the negotiations. How the Loma situation, kind of played out with the time that it took Loma to make the decision to go back to or to not leave or to remain in Ukraine and do what he's doing instead of stepping out and get the money. Interestingly, I'm assuming it's on is it Valentine? It's on Chris Mannix's podcast, the boxing podcast with Chris Mannix. I only listened to it once. I'm not saying that I got everything exactly how he said it, but I like I said, if that's your interest in boxing, you want to know, details and to hear it from the horse's mouth, I would suggest go check it out. I do like Lou DiBella. He may be a crook. He may be dirty. Appreciate it. Thank you. You too. DiBella might be a crook. I'm not sitting here like the dude is perfect. I've said this before though. It's boxing. I think you got to play hard. I think you got to negotiate hard. I think everybody has to protect themselves at all times. And he said, him and Eddie Hearn, he had a laugh on there that let you know he got over on Eddie Hearn in the negotiations of this fight. And he said, it's not like him and Eddie Hearn are going to spend Christmas together or vacation together this year or nothing. He said, it was some tough things that were said and some tough comments that were made. But he had to do the best thing for his fighter and himself. And Eddie Hearn had to do the best thing for his company and his interests. And he just said in this particular situation, he won. And again, I've kind of been fond of Lou DiBella for the fact that despite him having a pretty decent sized roster and being here in the States, where we say this is the place for boxing, and a couple of the names that he has, he's been the one dude who hasn't had a TV deal for the last 5 years or whatever. So he's been out here. You gotta fight dirty. You gotta capitalize when you do have the hammer or you do have the upper hand. You gotta win. And so I had an interest in listening to the interview and seeing, how he did the best for his fighter and for his interests. I'm amazed at a lot of black fight fans who just think the white dudes in the business are supposed to be idiots, and that the white dudes in the business, they should just cash the checks and not try to do anything. Like they're just there. I don't get that. Somebody made a comment on a video of mine once that Bob Arum was whatever. And I'm like, maybe he is, but just because he's the white dude, he's not supposed to be working to get anything for his efforts. I don't understand how you could put that on anybody. Yeah, looking. I'm gone, man. You done hurt my feelings, bro. That's what I call it. The Frederick Douglass look. Let me go, man. I'm gonna get my hair cut. You know what, man? Getting a haircut in the pandemic has become such a difficult thing. I just hate doing it, man. I hate doing it. And when I'm riding my bike, I got my helmet on, and I never have my hair out working from home. I got my my fitteds on and whatnot. I just hate going to the barbershop, man. They don't, you go in there at your appointment. Your appointment is 9:30. Your barber come in the damn shop at 9:50, and then Wood, damn Wood, I got two in front of you, bro. And then my man got his son with him. Can I work them in? You ain't gotta. You free, ain't you, Wood? All that bullshit, man. So I hate going to the barbershop, man. I do. Anyway, y'all have a phenomenal day, man. I just had, you know, on my commute, I had to talk my boxing. Let me get up out of here. Peace.